These people that had an interest in putting America in debt. And we see how woefully successful they've been. It's very sad. And so if there was so much as a hint of impropriety on the part of the Federal Reserve being involved, I mean, cui bono, I mean, it's so obvious. It's not a hint of impropriety. We're talking about overwhelming impropriety, glaring impropriety on their part. I mean, even if there was absolutely zero impropriety, there's no way anybody that's connected to the Federal Reserve is involved in the assassination of JFK. Nevertheless, we should have deleted this company, this entity, okay, just to satisfy JFK's will for the American people. And how can anybody argue that against that? Why? How is it that the U.S. Treasury notes no longer existed thereafter? I mean, it was almost immediate as far as I remember. There was no more United States Treasury notes, no more silver certificates, no more silver notes circulating anymore. No more of this new dollar that JFK had already supplanted the Federal Reserve notes with. They were gone. Poof, vanished. I mean, it's just, we've got to understand, we had a coup. We haven't had America. We haven't had capitalism, true capitalism, since that time, because capitalism involves competition. And the Federal Reserve couldn't find a way to compete with the United States Treasury notes, okay, then they deserve to fail. That's what capitalism is. That's what it does. And that's why the cream rises to the top under true capitalism, and it involves checks and balances. It involves oversight. You've got to have those things. You've got to have the top politicians working for their masters, for their bosses, for their employers. And who are they? That's we the people. Not we some of the people. We all the people. And if they're not, then we have to ask ourselves who they're working for. And if that interest, the interests of who they're really working for, are in line with the interests of the American people at large, or if they are not in line. And they're not. They haven't been in line for a long, long time. The vast majority of senators and Congress and the executive branch have been nothing but a bunch of useless, feckless pustules, plaguing the best interests of the American people. They've been lapdogs, sycophantic piss ants, bootlicking brown nosers for the money printing class, the top bankster gangster class. These people that love money above all else, they get it. Money is the exemplification. It is the embodiment of power and wealth, riches, because money, in whatever one of its sundry incarnations, manifestations, is the same thing. It will get you anything you want. You understand? So if it's yachts, or if it's jet airplanes, or if it's fancy automobiles or mansions, or anything else your little heart desires, money is a nice, neat little packet that all those things come in. So it's the epitome of everything in this world. And this is where you've got to understand where spiritualism comes into play. And you've got to have a rudimentary understanding of the heart and mind of God. Understand what Jesus taught about money. How the love thereof is the root of not some of the evil, but of all the evil. That money is akin to a false competing God, competing for the affection and attention that only God is worthy of. It's all very clear, cut and dry, and I just, for the life of me, I don't understand why it seems like all the other preachers in the world that I listen to so many televangelists, they leave guys like me flapping in the wind. I mean, as if I'm some pipe dreaming, nutty, idealistic, egalitarian freak, and that I'm just not grounded in reality. But I really feel like I'm a down to earth kind of guy. I'm sensible. I don't feel like I'm a wild eyed radical. I feel like I'm just alluding to God's will, the God's values, and the fact that those things are not hidden, they're not concealed. Otherwise, we couldn't emulate God. And this is what God wants us to do. He wants us to be happy, just like any good parent wants their children to be happy. And he knows there's certain factors, certain elements, certain components that go into a nice, well-rounded sense of contentment, of overall happiness. And we have to, above all, have right values. We have to have proper, sound values. And those values are decided beforehand. They're dictated from on high. And we can't, no matter how much we want to or try, we can't escape that reality, that fact. That's settled science because it's godly science. You understand? So as much as it is a departure from this current paradigm, this so-called reality that's thrust upon us from birth, the fact is that's just the way it is. It's a thus saith the Lord, and you can't change it. It's knowing that invariably, inevitably, one way or another, God's going to get his way on earth. His will is going to be established, that the good guys are going to prevail because they are stronger. They are smarter. They are more powerful than the evil men. We bandy this term Satan around, and Satan this like it's just some devil with horns or something. It is just an archetype to understand that most of the evil and wickedness resides in the hearts and minds of men. It's invisible, it's hidden. And the only time you can really tell it's there is when it manifests itself, when you see the fruits of the evil men. And that's what we've got going on here. This entire reality is imbued, it's permeated, it's marinated in evil, up one side, down the other, and to the nth degree. And it's been that way for thousands of years. Is that these evil men, these top money lovers, have always gotten their way because they have a huge advantage, because they don't value godly values. They're not on the same page as God. So they have this huge advantage because they don't value their conscience. So when they murder and lie and cheat and steal, they have no compunction, no guilt. They say, hey, I don't believe. I just believe I don't exist anymore. I'm not going to be answerable. And that's that. Or that evil is stronger and I'm on that side. I'm rooting for that team. However they rationalize it in their sick and twisted minds and hearts, it's the state of affairs. It's the status quo. So these are the establishmentarians. These are the Satanists. These are the evildoers. And the reason they rule over the righteous is because they have this huge advantage of not valuing their conscience, their honor, their integrity, their reputation, their very soul. They don't care. So, is God going to put up with this forever? Any righteous person would object to that. This entire human history would be an utterly unreadable book, an absolutely unwatchable movie if it ended this way, just forever, perpetual simmering in ever-growing misery for the righteous, while the evildoers continue to triumph over the decent and upright, the righteous among us. So it can't continue forever. That's the good news, that the good guy ultimately, inevitably will prevail and win, and that is none less than God himself. And if human beings are not able to secure this planet because they're not willing to stoop to the level that the evildoers are, they're not willing to murder, for example, to get their way, And we can see the obstacle it's in our face. It's resounding. It's a big fat obstacle. And it's the way it has to be, because the righteous cannot stoop to the level of the evildoers. We can't. It's got to be done on God's terms. So this is why, if you read the Bible and you understand that the righteous have a duty, not just a right, to speak out and speak out against the evildoers and to know what's going on and how they're being tyrannized. It's through the burden that's being placed on them unduly. It's manufactured burden. It's artificial burden. And it's through monetary means. And this is how they steal our sense of freedom. Our sense of security is done by monetary means. You understand? They are stealing the wealth from the people, from the blue-collar working class that belongs to the people, the productive people out there working in factories and farms and every other aspect of society. Just think of who those people are that do valuable things and really produce something with results. Those are the people that keep the wheels of society turning. But the people that are doling out the money, they act like they're so important. And, these top politicians that are like Siamese twins with the money printers at this point in history. I mean, we're in a lot of trouble. And I say this over and over again, and people got to get what's going on and how evil the days are. The good news is that we're at the precipice of big changes, and those changes are spelled out in Scripture. Jesus talked about this end of the age and a beginning of a new age. So that's why I say the last few sands are running out of the hourglass for the evildoers, and they're starting to see the writing on the wall. They know they can't kick this can down the road much longer. They know they can't push this envelope much longer because the people are being empowered. The knowledge is out there, and people are seizing it. And they're saying, hey, they're putting their foot down. They're saying, hey, this division in our land is created, it's manufactured, it's just made up out of whole cloth. That we're not divided, we're we the people. Every one of us should be getting our way. It's a republic, for God's sake. Why can't we have our cake and eat it too? Okay, if we don't have a backup cake, we'll bake another one. It's our ingredients. And we're the labor class, we're the workers, so we're doing the work anyhow. We can make another cake. If anybody deserves to have their cake and eat it too, it's us. You understand? If anybody deserves to be rich, prosperous, wealthy, well off, well heeled in America, it is the average worker out there, the productive worker, minimum wage workers, workers of all types. This is like Adam Smith, the world's most famous economist, pointed out. Every nation's single greatest asset. That alone, I mean, that is wanton empowerment that I'm handing you on a silver platter. Understand what you are. And beyond that, I mean, to understand your place with God. You are God's child. You understand? Equally beloved. And this planet is God's planet. You understand? So just on face value, look at this thing. On prima facie, okay, from God's point of view, that's very fundamental to understand. And say, wow, he is a huge departure. I mean, right now, we're all born enslaved. We can be free in every other conceivable way, but you just can't, you can't be financially free. No, of course you've got a cost of living. Come on. Money you got to pay. No other creature on earth has that burden. And if they understood it, they wouldn't accept it because they know it's a scam. They know it's a ruse. It's just a way to cheat, steal from people. So they're not going to accept it. But yet we just all, like sheep to the slaughter. We go along to this is our paradigm. This is our reality. It's always been this way. Just accept it. Don't be a pipe dreamer. Don't be an idealist. Don't be an egalitarian. Don't be a believer. Don't believe that you can understand God's will, that you can understand the very heart and mind of God, what he wants for us, the nature of God that's written he is spirit. I mean, for crying out loud, he created everything. He owns everything in the universe. He could take any form he wants. For all we know, one galaxy is just but an atom on his body. And if you could step back far enough, you see, okay, now I see how we're made in his image and likeness. He looks very human. So that's a lot of atoms. We say, well, but atoms are all connected. No, they're not. They're all floating, believe it or not. They're all just held together by the law of attraction that God put into motion. So we could say, well, these vast, you know, light years of separation between the galaxies and all this. Well, nevertheless, there's separation between every atom in your body. So I'm just saying that this is really cool stuff. It's very cosmic stuff. We're involved in something very cosmic, this eternal tapestry. Knowing that there is no death, I mean, that's good news. You see, that's the Bible is called the gospel, which translates to good news. And that alone is good news, to understand that death has been swallowed up in victory, and Jesus proved it over and